I just wanted to give you guys a quick intro clip to what I'm about to show you. When I was working at an elementary school in Gainesville, well, actually, it was a K through 12, and I was in the elementary school part of it, but the sixth grade teacher for middle school asked me to come in and do a questionnaire in her classroom with the children there. The children were very curious and they had such good questions. I decided to just post all of it out. Feel free to skip past some of it if you want to, but I did think that overall it was all good content. They all had such good questions, and a lot of their questions was actually about food. Who would have thought? But actually that gave me an idea for my next video to be about food related, regarding, of course, Middle Eastern culture. So yeah, please keep in mind that these are sixth graders, and I thought that they did such a good job just with their own ability and what they were learning. But yeah, keep that in mind. Just know that they were doing the best that they can. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have some of your questions answered if you have any. And yeah, thank you so much for watching In My Own Thoughts. The video should start right after this intro.
Bye. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. So my name is Miriam Toko. Some of you might know me as Mrs. Toko because I am teacher's assistant for first grade. And I am here to talk about my experience in the Middle East. So I am from Iraq originally. I'm Middle Eastern or Arab. You could have heard it both ways. And I grew up in Iraq. I grew up in Baghdad. I was there during the Iraq War. It started in, I think, 2003, if I'm right. I was about like 8 years old when the war started. And the Middle East is a very interesting place. It's definitely different from here. Growing up in Iraq was definitely something that I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about how the Middle East is like. So how I grew up, I wasn't Muslim. A lot of people think that Arabs are Muslim. And you know what? The majority of them are. So there's a reason for that stereotype. But I wasn't. My family wasn't. My family was Catholic and my dad was Orthodox. So I didn't grow up wearing hijab. I didn't grow up doing any of those stereotypical things that like you think Arabs might wear, especially Arab women. If you're not Muslim at the time in Iraq, you didn't have to really wear hijab. You just have to submit to the Muslim government there. Now that's changed ever since then. After the war, like Iraq became a completely different place. So that's changed ever since then. We haven't been back since 2005. So there's really no way for me to know how it's like there. We have family there that tell us, and I know at some point over the past 10 years they did make it like necessary for every woman, either Muslim or Christian, to wear hijab. But there was also a lot of persecution there that happened, so there's a lot of like history in that and background over the past 10 years that we really can't get into right now. So yeah, actually I wanted to see if you guys have any specific questions. I want to like make sure I address them in the next 20 minutes. Do you guys have any questions so far? Do you want me to keep going? What do you want me to do? No? Okay. Cool. So I guess next I could talk about our culture. Middle Eastern culture is, well, it's fun because we have a lot of good music and a lot of good food. But it's also, the family dynamic in the Middle East is really strict in a lot of different ways. For one thing, there's a lot of pressure on like the older children to kind of like make their parents proud and stuff. And I'm sure some of you guys have that here too. But they rely so much on family and tradition. Growing up, I grew up as Catholic, and really, it was because it was tradition. It was family tradition to be Catholic. That's what we were. And so I got saved when I was 18. And after I got saved and believed that my salvation comes through faith and faith alone in Christ, my family did not take that very well. My family lives in Jacksonville right now, but at the time they didn't take that very well. It was a very difficult concept for them to understand, that I would somehow break away from that tradition. And ever since then, like, we've come a long way. but they don't have the same faith as I do. They still profess as Catholic, and my dad still professes as Orthodox. So, yeah, I don't know. Hummus is from the Middle East. You know, if you guys ever eat hummus, it's a Middle Eastern thing. Yes. Oh, you're raising your hand, or?
I raised my hand.
Yes. What were you gonna say?
How much people would you say in Iraq, like when you were there, were Christian? Like what percentage?
Still not that much. I want to say like maybe 20% of Iraq. I mean, this is not like an actual statistic. I'm just making that up. But I want to say about 20% were Christians. Now, Christian is a very broad term these days. Like, I would say nominal Christian more. They didn't really have a Protestant understanding of the gospel. They didn't have like a biblical understanding of the gospel. Also, the Bible was really expensive in Iraq too. So there's that. Like, I remember my family like paid so much just to get access to one Bible. And so Bibles are definitely not as accessible. And if they are, they're kind of, so they have like only 2 versions of the Bible, really 2 or 3 solid versions that you can say, okay, this is like an actual translation of the Bible. Which is funny because a lot of the Old Testament was in the Middle East. So Egypt, I don't know if you guys have learned about Egypt, but Egypt is a country that has a lot of Baptist/Protestant Arab believers. And that's because they've had so much influence from the West. But when it comes to the rest of the Middle East, Palestine, Syria, Iraq, at the time, there wasn't that much influence there. So now there could have been missionaries that came, of course. They would not have been able to be public missionaries. They would have probably had to kind of live quietly and evangelize more relationally speaking. So there was a lot of that happened. I mean, I got saved here. I got saved in America. I got saved 8 years after we came here. And so someone just evangelized to me and I just got saved. But it's not as simple as that over there. I wish it was, but it's just really not. Any other questions about that? Okay, do you guys have any questions about like the culture-wise, like food or dressing or? Yeah.
What was your favorite food over there?
Oh, so I see you. I'll get next. Man, I don't know. I really like kanafe, which is it's a Middle Eastern dessert. It's like layers of cheese and basically sugar syrup. And it's got like dough in between it, and the filling is cheese. It's kind of like lasagna, just like a dessert version of lasagna. Yes. Oh, sorry. You were next.
What kind of music did you listen to?
Oh, Iraqi music is, well, okay, I want to say Middle Eastern music is just, it's really different. It's very similar to Indian music. Like if you hear Indian music, it's similar to that. I kind of wish we could play something, but I don't know if we have the time for it. It's a lot of drums, a lot of drumming, and also a lot of piano playing. And it's music that you can dance to, so it's referred to as rakas sharqi, which means like belly dancing music, basically. Yes.
What's a really common dish over there?
Oh, tabbouleh. Have you guys heard of tabbouleh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, it's got bolar wheat in it, and it looks like quinoa, or couscous, and it's got parsley in it and tomatoes, and sometimes other Arabs that aren't Iraqi put like cucumbers in it. My family never did. Yes.
So did men have to wear those like things?
No. So men, okay, Muslim dressing is different too. A lot of times they just wear like, I mean, if you're there, and I think my theory is that because it's so hot over there, if you ever watch Indiana Jones, they like, in one of the scenes they have like men dressed in white robes basically, and like a white hat kind of. A lot of them wear that. And I think it's because it's so hot over there that like you need something like basically white to kind of not absorb the heat. So my grandpa used to wear that robe, but it's more social than is like necessary. Like they don't have to wear it. So it's more social. For the women, it's more necessary that they do that. Yes.
Have you ever worn like one of the Muslim kind of outfit things?
No. No, I did go to school there. So I was there for about elementary school, and so I was around, I mean, I had friends who wore it, but I never really had to myself. Yes, I think you had a question.
What's the significance of the Muslim headdress thing?
So the headdress goes back to the Quran. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that book. Islam is a religion, obviously, and so we have Bible as our belief system. Their belief system is the Quran. And I don't really want to say too much about it because I think that it needs a detailed study to be able to figure it out. But basically, the women have to wear it. Whether they're Sunni or Shia, there's two different sects in Islam, so it depends on that too. Some of them are more free with it, some of them aren't. But if you live in the Middle East, you have to wear it. And it's supposed to be an intense version of modesty, and showing your submission to your husband. Now, again, biblical submission and Quranic submission are two completely different things. So, yeah, yes.
Did you have any questions why your family was Catholic instead of Muslim?
So I've actually gotten that question a lot here in America because it's a difficult thing for people to understand, but my family, my grandparents, I mean, they're originally not Muslim. I don't really know my heritage that extensively, but I'm just not Muslim. So yeah. And there are a lot of them that way, it's not just me. Yes.
How old were you when you came to America?
I was about 11 years old. I just turned 11. Yes.
Is Catholic beliefs there and Catholic beliefs here the same? Are they
Catholic, what do you mean?
do they do beliefs?
Beliefs.
Do they do the same things, take communion and
Yes.
stuff like that?
Yes, it's really similar. Now, because the Middle East is kind of far away from the papacy, probably there are certain things that the papacy does that Catholics don't do. So there's not as much emphasis on the Eucharist and confession. You know how you have stereotypically speaking, Catholic Church would have a confession booth. The priest would go into and then the person would go into. We didn't really have that growing up. We just didn't. We had communion. We had an age of confirmation where you had to have communion, but certain things like that change, but it's really similar. Yes.
Were people there typically Arab, or there were Europeans and Asian and that sort of thing?
Not in Iraq. No. I mean, most people that were in Iraq were Iraqi. Most people that were in Syria are Syrian. Now, you get a little bit more mixes in Palestine and Israel. Palestine and Israel, I mean, obviously you guys know about their conflict there. There's a conflict about the borders there. So there's influence from the West more in that area. In Lebanon, there's more influence there too, for sure. Egypt has some influences there. Algeria doesn't really, and Morocco doesn't. I mean, almost. Now, I'll say this much. Because Morocco and Algeria are a safe place, when I went to college here, a lot of people who were studying about Middle Eastern things, they chose to go to Morocco for their study abroad because Morocco is just safer. So they do get influences from the West. I just don't think people actually live there for long periods of time. Anything else? Yeah.
What's the most scary experience you encountered while you were there that you're comfortable talking about?
The scariest experience?
Because of the war and stuff.
Well, okay, so I think, so the war itself was scary for an 8-year-old, but I think what was scarier was after the war. It was post-war stuff that was happening. It was really scary. So my uncle actually got kidnapped and tortured. He's my dad's uncle, so he said my second uncle. So he got kidnapped and tortured there. And that was a really traumatic thing for his family and for my dad. I remember because we left Iraq a couple of months after the war. And I think the war was actually in 2004, right? I think they're after that. No, 2005. Yeah. We were there for a couple of months after the war. and there was kidnappings that were happening. The situation for my uncle was not very good, but they ended up, so they asked for a pretty hefty ransom, and their family paid it because they just wanted, their dad back. And he was let out, but it was actually a very traumatic experience for him. And for us, we didn't see him really after that happened. I didn't, and my mom didn't, because I don't think she did, but my dad did. And they actually ended up migrating over to Canada. They were able to get a visa and just leave and go to Canada. That was pretty scary to even just hear about, because you're like, oh, right, the uncle that I grew up around is not here anymore. He's kidnapped, he's being tortured by people. That was really scary. And then, what else? I want to say that after the war, we didn't experience much of it personally, thank God, but there was a lot of looting. You guys know what looting means? Yeah. There was a lot of looting that happened, and you just didn't know if your house was going to be next, or if your home was going to be next, or if you walking on the street was going to be an issue. Yes?
Why did you choose North America to move from?
We didn't really choose North America. So we came on a visa called asylum. Okay, at the time, you could go to the West in different ways, and we applied to different countries that we had family in. So we had family here. We had family in Jacksonville. My uncle is here on my mom's side of the family. However, we also have family in Canada. We have family in Germany and in Sweden. And I think, if I remember correctly, my dad tried to get visas there, but they denied him there. And America was the only place that really accepted our visa. They just did. We stayed in Jordan for about a year after the war to work on that stuff and see where we're gonna end up at. We had no idea where we were going. We had to leave, but we just had no idea where we were going. So God opened up the door for America. Yeah.
Do you speak Arabic?
Do you guys want to learn a word or something? Yeah. You guys would. Okay. What time is it?
11:57.
Okay.
13 minutes.
So I'll teach you guys one word. Do you want me to write it on the board in Arabic, or do you want me? Okay.
Say it.
Okay, so I'll teach you hi. Okay, it's a very common word. Marhaba. Can we say that? Marhaba. Marhaba. Very good. Okay. So marhaba is spelled like this. Okay, and then it's transliterated as. Do you guys know what that word means? Transliteration. So transliteration is spelling the word in English, just how it sounds in Arabic. So it's not, this is not Arabic, but you're trying to bring a closer phonetic sound to it. Yeah. Do you guys want to learn another word? Yeah. Yes.
Do you write right to left?
Yeah. Well, we mean yes, right up. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Can you teach us a phrase like "How are you" or something like that?
Oh yeah. So it's where things get complicated. So in the Middle East, you have standard Arabic and you have dialect version of Arabic. Standard Arabic is kind of like what you learn in school. Everything is written in standard Arabic, but how you speak is in dialect. So which one do you guys want to learn? Do you guys want to learn my dialect, or do you guys want to learn the standard version?
Which one sounds cooler?
Let's go with dialect.
Okay, let's do that. All right. So how are you? It's so for a guy, it's Ashonek for a guy, like a girl saying it to a guy, Ashonek. Can you guys say that? Ashonek. Yeah, very good. And then for a girl, it's Ashonki. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Ashonki. There's an accent mark at the end. Ashonki. So if you want to say it to a girl, a guy say it to a girl, Ashonki. I say it to a girl, Ashonki. I say it to a guy, Ashonek. Guy says it to a guy, Ashonek. There's a more popular term, and that's also, it's in standard too, and some people say it, some people don't. And it's Assalamu alaikum. I think that one's more commonly known here. I don't know if have you guys heard that before? No, you haven't heard Assalamu alaikum? Okay. So that's just like a greeting. Like it's hi mixed in with like, I hope you're well, basically. So you guys want to say that? Assalamu alaikum. So it's like, it's hi, plurally speaking. Like just general, I hope you're doing well, I hope you're peaceful. And it's spelled like this. There you go. Assalamu alaikum. And then transliteration. Actually, it's probably closer to the Y sound here than it is the E sound.
That almost sounds like Hebrew a little bit.
Yes, so yeah, shalom, salam.
See
yeah.
that?
Mm-hmm. Salam means peace in Arabic, and I think it's what it means in Hebrew too. Yeah.
Shalom, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So did you have a question, Amber?
Did you like go to school and learn the Arabic letters like you did before you went to English in school, like you learned the ABC?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. I don't think I've ever actually gotten asked that before. So you go to school like first through, I don't know, like 5th grade or something like that, in your elementary level, and yeah, you learn the alphabet, you learn math, kind of like how we do here. But in school you learn standard because everyone writes in standard. Dialect, I mean you can write in it, like I just wrote this in dialect, but you don't like formally write in it. So yeah, yes.
So why do you write so well?
It's just how the language is. It's not backwards. I've heard people like, oh, do you write backwards? I'm like, well, it's not really backwards because we're assuming that English, yeah, I don't know, like the right way. I mean, it's just a different language. Yes.
Can you press like the alphabet? Is it like in the, it's like the English alphabet with?
Are any of you guys familiar with Hebrew alphabet by any chance? No. Are you?
I know Norwegian.
Okay, so
Greek alphabet.
it's similar to Hebrew. So alif, ba, ta, tha, like I mean, you guys want me to go through all of it?
Does it have like all of the letters that we have?
It's, I think they're good.
Oh,
So there's some sound. So we don't. Okay, it's actually really interesting thing to talk about. I hope I have time for this. Do
Okay.
you mind if I use this to
You're fine, yeah. You got 7 minutes left.
Cool. So there's some sounds that I can mention that we don't have in English, and it's why you guys actually can't make the ha sound in like marhaba. It's like marhaba. It's like that's what I hear, but it's because there's certain sounds that we just don't have in English. So ha. That's the ha, 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 and then ha, ha, ha. There you go, like you know, you mean it. Yeah, there you go. Okay, and then what else? Oh, and this one, ayn, ayn, it's like very harsh. So I'm thinking of a word that could have. Oh, alaikum. Yeah, alaikum. So alaikum is spelled in English. If you're trying to like transliterate it, alaikum. I think I just wrote it a little while ago. But it makes the ah sound, so it's not actually an ah sound. So alaikum, like alaikum. There you go. Yeah. Okay. And then this sound we don't have either. Ra. So that one, if you want to make it, you know how like if you gargle water, you kind of like make that, yeah, la, 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 la. There you go. Okay, much better. Okay, so I'm thinking of a word. Oh, so I don't know why I thought of this word, but ghaib, which means absent. I don't know why I thought of that one. That's not the first thing that came to mind. Absent. Ghaib. And if I were to transliterate it to English, because we don't have the R sound, I would either have to say maybe like ayib, but really it's not. Just we don't have that sound, so we have to substitute it with something that's kind of like closer to it. Yes.
Are there any like letters that mean a whole word, like in Japanese or Chinese?
No, it's not character language. We don't. It's so Arabic is similar. I want to say to cursive. So with cursive, you connect all the letters together, right? Arabic is similar to that, actually. Yeah.
Was it hard for you to like transfer from right to left to left to right?
That part actually is funny because there's certain times like my checks are backwards. I make checks like that. My mind just doesn't. I mean, I know how to make them like this, but my mind like automatically thinks does it like that because it's from right to left. So certain things actually my mind hasn't completely like transferred over, or like it knows how to do it, but it'd rather do it this way. And no one's really complained about it, so I'm like, no, complaints, I'll actually keep doing it this way. But like writing, I didn't have as much of a difficult time with that. It took a little time getting used to. Numbers though, oh my goodness, numbers. So even now when I like write like 21 plus 12, you know how like you do it like this, 21 plus 12. What? 21. 21 plus 12. I have to like train my mind to be like, okay, we're gonna have to look at it like this way. You know, like we can't like flip it. I don't know if that makes sense. It sounds really confusing, but like in my mind it works. So certain times I still struggle with it, but it's not like anything incredible.
When did you learn English? Because you speak so well.
So I didn't actually learn in the Middle East. I came here with like no work of English. There was an ESOL program. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of that, ESOL. I came here about like midway through 5th grade. So I've got some of that in 5th grade, but really I learned the bulk of it in 6th and 7th. And by the time 7th grade came along, I was pretty much like fluent by then. I read a lot in English, so that helped. Yes.
What is your name?
Mariam? Oh, Miss Toko? Wait, which part?
Just like
My first name or last name?
your full name.
So Mariam Toko. So my husband's not Arab, so his last name is Toko. I think he's Italian descent, so maybe that's where it came from. But my name, Mariam, like the Virgin Mary, Mariam, like Jesus' mother. That's what my mom named me after. So yeah, Mariam. It's spelled like this.
Moses' sister's name was Miriam.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Moses' sister. There are plenty of women. Although, actually, it's funny because my husband didn't. He was really shocked to like hear so many Mariams in like our family. Like our family's pretty big, and the ones that the friends that my parents have in Jacksonville, there's at least like 2 or 3 other Mariams in there. Don't ask me why. We just named Mariam. Yes.
What's your maiden name?
Boaz. It's actually my. You mean my middle name?
Your maiden. Like before you got married.
Oh, yeah, Boaz. It was Boaz. So it was spelled like this, Boaz, and that's actually my dad's name. Oddly enough, when I first came to America, there was a mix-up with our like immigration passport thing, whatever, and so they took my dad's name and made it my last name, which technically isn't true because my last name was supposed to be Menti. Menti means Matthew in Arabic, and Fawaz means victory, which it means. But the thing is, in the Middle East, you don't really have last names. You have your dad's name as your family name. So I think that's why there was that mix-up. I changed it when I got my citizenship, and I became a U.S. citizen like 8 years ago. So I changed it when I got my citizenship, but then I had to change it again when I got married. It was an annoying process. I don't ever want to go through it again. So, yeah.
All right, so it's time to wrap it up. So
Okay.
if there's anything else you want to tell us, or if you want to take one more question, it's up to you.
Just one more question. Yes, I'll take it. Oh wait, you haven't asked anything yet. I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm gonna have to go with her. Oh, okay. You go ahead.
Do the people in Iraq have middle names? Or like China, they don't? 'Cause I know Chinese.
Oh, names are very complicated thing in the Middle East. So you have your dad's name, right? If you want to go further than that, you would go with your grandpa's name, And then if you want to go further than that, then you would go with your great-grandfather's name. So in school and stuff, my last name was my dad's name. That's just how it was. But if you want to like spell it out fully, it would be by like each generation, I guess, is a better way of saying it.
So your dad's first name, because there's no last names. So your dad's first name was could be your last name.
Yes, and the thing
Pardon.
is, not all of us had. So my dad had like his dad's last name. My mom had her dad's last name. So it's not like how it is here, where like the last name is just everyone in the family, yay. But I kind of wish it was less simple, but it's just not. So you can say things like the house of. So whoever's like the last person you can remember in that generation, you would say the house of this person. You can say that.
All right, can y'all give a round of applause and say thank you?